There's a quiet exhaustion that comes from trying to be liked by everyone. You smile when you don't want to, agree when your heart says no, and shrink when your truth wants to stand tall. But the truth is, not everyone deserves access to you. The freedom you seek will only come when you stop auditioning for approval. When you finally stop chasing validation, you'll start attracting peace. Quietly eliminate the urge to please, and you'll rediscover who you were before the world told you who to be. One of the most subtle and destructive addictions we develop is the addiction to approval. It starts so early that we don't even notice it growing roots in us. As children, we were rewarded for being good, for smiling when we were sad, for being agreeable when we wanted to speak up, and for staying small so others could feel comfortable. Somewhere along the way, we learned that being liked meant being safe, and we started betraying ourselves for acceptance. But here's the truth. Needing to be liked by everyone is emotional slavery. It binds you to an impossible standard, a life built on the fragile opinions of people who are often still figuring themselves out. When you depend on others to validate you, you hand them the remote control to your peace. Suddenly, you're adjusting your tone, your personality, even your dreams, just to fit into someone else's comfort zone. And in the process, you slowly disappear. It's painful to admit, but not everyone will understand your heart. Not everyone will cheer for your growth. Some will only love the version of you that doesn't challenge them. And that's okay. You don't need to convince people to see your worth. Your value isn't up for negotiation. The moment you release the need to be liked, you step into your true power, the kind that doesn't beg to be seen, it simply is. You start noticing how peaceful life feels when you're no longer performing. You say no without guilt, you speak truth without apology, and you show up as yourself, unfiltered, unedited, and unafraid. Because real connection doesn't come from being liked, it comes from being authentic. So quietly eliminate that need. Let go of the weight of trying to please everyone, because even when you do everything right, someone will still find a reason not to approve. Remember, peace doesn't live in being liked, it lives in being real. There comes a time in life when you realize that constantly explaining yourself is not communication, it's self-betrayal in disguise. Every time you over-explain why you made a choice, set a boundary, or walked away, what you're really saying is, please understand me so I can feel okay about choosing myself. But here's the truth. You don't need permission to honor your peace. We've been conditioned to believe that explanation equals empathy, that if people could just see our heart, they'd stop misunderstanding us. But some people are not confused. They're committed to misunderstanding you. They hear you, but they have no intention of truly listening. Their goal isn't clarity, it's control. And when you over-explain, you give them power over your emotional world. Real freedom begins when you learn to sit in the discomfort of not being understood. When you stop chasing validation and start standing on quiet conviction. You don't owe anyone a dissertation about why you're healing, growing, or distancing yourself. The moment you stop justifying your boundaries, your peace stops feeling like rebellion and starts feeling like alignment. Explaining yourself over and over again drains your energy. It's like pouring your spirit into a cup that has no bottom. Some people don't need an explanation, they need distance. Some situations don't need clarity, they need closure. And some seasons don't need words, they need silence. Your choices don't have to make sense to anyone but you. The people meant for your life will feel your sincerity without you having to defend it. They will trust your heart even when they don't understand your decisions. Quietly eliminate the habit of over-explaining. Instead, let your consistency speak. Let your peace do the talking. And let your silence be the boundary that guards your growth. Because when you stop explaining, you stop negotiating your worth, and that's when real freedom begins. Comparison is one of the quietest ways we wound ourselves. It doesn't shout, it whispers. Through a scroll on social media, a glance at someone else's success, or a conversation that makes you suddenly question your pace. It's that soft, invisible voice that says you should be further by now. And if you're not careful, that voice becomes the thief that steals the joy right out of your present moment. The truth is, we live in a world that rewards appearances. We see polished photos, filtered smiles, and carefully edited stories, but not the sleepless nights, the failures, or the tears that built them. We start believing that others have it easier, that their timeline is more on track, and that maybe somehow, we've fallen behind. But behind every highlight is a hidden history of pain, doubt, and perseverance. No one gets to skip the process, not even the people who seem to be ahead. Comparison blinds you to your own blessings. It keeps you measuring your worth against someone else's season. But you can't compare spring to winter. Your journey is unfolding at the pace that is right for you. Maybe what feels like delay is actually divine preparation. Maybe the waiting is not punishment, but protection, shaping your character for what's coming. The moment you stop comparing, peace starts to return. You begin to see how far you've come instead of how far you have left to go. You start to celebrate your small wins because they belong to you, not as steps toward validation, but as proof of your resilience. Quietly eliminate the habit of comparison. It doesn't mean you stop admiring others. It means you stop using them as a mirror for your own worth. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are becoming. Your timeline is sacred. And the only race worth running is the one that leads you back to yourself. There's a certain kind of exhaustion that no amount of sleep can fix, the kind that comes from being surrounded by people who constantly take but never pour back into you. You know the feeling, the conversations that leave you feeling small, the friendships that demand more than they give, the moments when you walk away from someone you care about, yet your spirit feels heavy. That's not love, that's depletion. You have to understand, not everyone who has access to you deserves it. Some people don't come to add peace, they come to consume it. They thrive on your empathy, your patience, your light, and they mistake your kindness for permission. But the truth is, you can love people deeply and still protect your peace fiercely. Love doesn't require self-abandonment. Compassion doesn't mean exhaustion. We are taught to endure relationships long after they've expired, to keep showing up, to keep forgiving, to keep giving the benefit of the doubt. But boundaries are not unkind, they are necessary. The moment you realize your energy is sacred, you stop apologizing for being selective with who you share it with. Because your spirit is not a charity, though it's a resource, and not everyone has earned the right to draw from it. There are people who will never see your value as long as you make yourself endlessly available. You can't heal in the same environment that's hurting you. You can't grow when you're constantly pouring into people who refuse to fill their own cups. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is quietly step back, without anger, without announcement, without guilt. When you walk away from what drains you, you make space for what restores you. You'll begin to notice the quiet peace that returns when you're no longer carrying everyone else's emotional weight. Your laughter feels lighter, your thoughts clearer, your heart stronger. Quietly eliminate the people who drain your energy, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. Because protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's survival. And the moment you understand that, you'll stop chasing connections that cost you your calm. There's a certain discomfort that rises in your chest when you begin to choose yourself. That lingering guilt that whispers you're being selfish. It's the voice that tells you to keep giving, to keep stretching, to keep saying yes, even when your soul is begging for rest. But let's tell the truth. Putting yourself first isn't selfish, it's sacred. It's what keeps you alive, sane, and whole. We've been taught to equate self-sacrifice with goodness. To be a good person, you must give until you have nothing left. But here's the painful irony. When you When you constantly empty yourself for others, you don't teach them love, you teach them dependency. And you teach yourself that your worth is measured by how much you endure. That's not love. That's slow self-destruction dressed as generosity. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. You cannot heal others while ignoring your own wounds. You cannot be light for the world while living in your own shadow. When you finally give yourself permission to rest, to say no, to take time to breathe, you are not betraying anyone. You are honoring the very life that was entrusted to you. Putting yourself first doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you start caring about yourself too. It's the decision to say, I matter. It's the courage to protect your energy before it's drained, your peace before it's broken, your joy before it's stolen. It's realizing that boundaries are love letters to your well-being. And yes, the guilt will come, especially when people are used to you being the one who always shows up. They may call you distant. They may say you've changed. But growth is change. Healing is change. And those who truly value you will adapt to your boundaries, not resent them. Quietly eliminate the guilt that comes from choosing yourself. Let go of the idea that you must earn rest or justify your needs. When you care for yourself, you expand your capacity to love, not just others, but life itself. Because the truth is this, you can't be who you were created to be if you're constantly running on empty. And choosing yourself isn't arrogance, it's alignment. It's how you make sure your light keeps burning in a world that keeps trying to dim it. There comes a point in your growth when you realize that not every conversation deserves your breath. You start to see that explaining yourself, defending your truth, or trying to make others see your perspective is often a silent war that drains your spirit. Some people don't listen to understand, and they listen to respond. And no matter how carefully you choose your words, they've already decided what they want to believe. You know those moments, and when you walk away from a conversation feeling smaller, unheard, and exhausted, you replay what you said, wondering if you could have phrased it better. But deep down, you know the truth. It's not your delivery that's the problem. It's their refusal to receive. You can't reach someone who's committed to misunderstanding you. You can't create clarity where there's no willingness to see. The more you grow, the more you'll recognize that silence can be the highest form of wisdom. Some battles aren't meant to be fought with words, but with distance. The peace you protect is worth more than the argument you win. When you stop engaging in conversations that go nowhere, you reclaim your ends. Urge, the energy you once wasted trying to prove your goodness, your intention, your truth. Not every disagreement needs closure. Not every relationship needs a final conversation. Sometimes closure comes when you accept that the other person will never understand, and that's okay. Understanding is not a requirement for you to move forward. Peace is. So quietly eliminate the need to argue, defend, or prove. Let your silence speak. Let your actions reveal what your words can't. The people who truly value you won't require constant explanations to trust your heart. Remember, stillness is not weakness. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is to walk away from a discussion that keeps you stuck in cycles of hurt. You don't owe anyone endless conversation at the cost of your peace. When you stop explaining what was never meant to be understood, you rise above the noise and return home to yourself. Because sometimes silence says everything that words never could. Growth can be beautiful, Mom, and deeply lonely. You don't realize it at first. You just start seeing life differently. And the conversations that once thrilled you now feel shallow. The places that once felt like home begin to feel heavy. The people you once walked with start walking slower. And you find yourself torn between staying where it's familiar and stepping into what feels right. That's the hidden pain of growth, realizing that love doesn't always mean longevity. We often hold on to people, not because they still fit our journey, but because we're afraid of what will happen if we let go. We fear being misunderstood, called distant, or labeled changed. But isn't that the point of growth, to change? You weren't created to stay the same just to make others comfortable. The truth is, some people loved you for who you were, not who you're becoming. And when your evolution no longer benefits their comfort, they start to call your growth pride. Outgrowing people doesn't mean you're better than them. It means you're finally becoming aligned with yourself. It's realizing that your healing might distance you from those who still cling to their wounds. It's knowing that your peace might feel foreign to those who live in chaos. And that's okay. You can love people deeply and still understand that not everyone is meant to walk your entire journey with you. The fear of outgrowing people keeps so many from becoming their fullest selves. It whispers, if you move forward, you'll lose them. But staying small just to be understood is its own kind of loss. The loss of your authenticity, your joy, your potential. Quietly eliminate that fear. Release it with love, not resentment. You don't have to make a dramatic exit or an emotional announcement. Just continue to rise gently, consistently, silently. The ones who are meant for your next chapter will find you there. Growth doesn't mean you stop loving the people from your past. It means you love yourself enough to not stop evolving. You can honor the memories without clinging to the versions of people that no longer exist. Remember this truth. Not everyone can go where you're going, and that's not rejection, that's direction. Control feels like safety, doesn't it? It gives us the illusion that if we can just plan enough, prepare enough, and hold everything together tightly enough, nothing will fall apart. But the truth is, control is often just fear in disguise. It's the fear of uncertainty, the fear of disappointment, the fear of being hurt again. And when fear leads, peace disappears. Many of us learned control as a survival skill. When life felt unpredictable, we took charge of everything we could, our routines, our relationships, even our emotions. We convinced ourselves that if we stayed vigilant, nothing bad could catch us off guard. But living like that is exhausting. It keeps you in a constant state of tension, waiting for something to go wrong. You can't breathe deeply when you're bracing for impact. The hardest truth to accept is this: you can't control outcomes, only efforts. You can't control how people treat you, only how you respond. You can't control timing, only trust that things unfold when they're meant to. The more you try to control everything, the more life will remind you. And control is not peace, surrender is. Surrender doesn't mean giving up, it means giving over. It's the quiet decision to stop micromanaging what's beyond your reach and to start trusting that what's meant for you won't miss you. It's the release of tension that comes from believing that you are guided even when the path is unclear. When you loosen your grip, life starts to move again. Opportunities flow. Love feels lighter. You begin to realize that you were never meant to carry the whole world, just your part in it. Quietly eliminate the need for control. Let go of the idea that you must have all the answers before you take a step. Trust that the unknown isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. The most beautiful moments in life are often the ones we never planned, the ones that found us when we stopped trying to force them. Remember, peace is not found in certainty, it's found in faith. Faith in yourself, faith in timing, and faith in the gentle unfolding of your journey. When you stop gripping life so tightly, you'll finally feel its rhythm, calm, flowing, and beautifully unpredictable. The most powerful transformations often happen quietly. You don't need to announce who you're becoming, just start removing what no longer serves you, in silence. The world doesn't need your explanations, it needs your example. Growth isn't about adding more, it's about subtracting what drains your soul. So start eliminating the need to be liked, the urge to explain, the habit of comparing, the people who drain you, the guilt of self-care, the endless conversations, the fear of outgrowing, and the illusion of control. Because real freedom begins when you no longer need to prove you're free. You don't owe anyone a performance. You owe yourself peace. And when peace becomes your priority, everything that doesn't align with it will quietly fade away. That's not loneliness, that's evolution. That's the sound of you coming home to yourself,